I think, Andrew, when you make trips and you stop places and you see things instead of just getting there quickly, it's a great learning experience.
No doubt. Yeah, it's like the longest road trip I did was when I graduated college. I flew from San Francisco to Chicago and met up with one of my good buddies, one of my old roommates who was doing a road trip. And we went Chicago back to San Francisco. So for absolutely no reason, I did a road trip. I was just joining him for it.
Because you were young and you were agreeable to everything. When you're young, you say, sure, I'll go. Where are we going? I don't know. I'm going to go. That's how it is.
Exactly. And it was, doing that right before starting at the Post-Gazette. And since then, it's been a treat. But, first long road trip like that since college. So
4 things I would like you to do in Seattle. Go to the original Starbucks. Go have dinner in the Space Needle. Visit Vinny Riccici and drive to Vancouver.
Yeah, the last one, big time.
Yeah, the last one for sure. I gotta get there at least for a Canucks game or something.
Oh my
check
God.
out the whole city. That's
the
mandatory.
Well, the Vinny Riccici thing is mandatory too, I feel like. Have you ever met Vinny? He still lives out there, I believe.
I can't say I have, but I have been told that I need to meet all of, former Penguins Brain Trust and folks that are running the ship there, coaching the team. The whole Kraken operation is basically just Penguins West.
And what's it called? Pike's Market, Bob? Is that what they have in Seattle?
They do have that, yes. There's a lot of great places there.
And right around there is the original Starbucks. Have you been there, Bob?
No, I missed that one.
The very first one is out there, Andrew. Were you aware of that?
I am, yeah. Funny story real quick. I haven't spent a lot of time in Seattle since I was a little kid, but when I was probably about, 11, 12 years old, we went there one time on a family vacation. We drove from the Bay Area up to Seattle to take a cruise up to Alaska, which is, one of the more memorable family vacations. But we stopped at the original Starbucks, and I got myself a chocolate milk, so I did pretty good for myself, I guess.
Bob, do you mind if I ask Andrew a question or two about his trip to Alaska?
No, go right ahead. I find it interesting.
I mean, is it stereotypically Alaska, where you go there and it's just like frozen tundra, or what did you do? What was Alaska like? Did you go ice fishing? What happened?
Well, so it was in the summer, so it made it a heck of a lot more tolerable. But yeah, so we went from Seattle to Alaska, hit Juneau, hit Skagway, hit a couple of these cities. We had one day where it was actually very hot. We rented a car, and I want to say we rented it in Juneau. I might have that wrong. If my folks are listening, please correct me. But we rented a car and then drove to the Yukon Territory so that we could say we went to the Yukon Territory, where they had these mosquitoes that were the biggest darn things you'd seen. They're the size of a palm of your hand.
Did you see Yukon Cornelius?
I wish. He was nowhere to be found, nor the abominable snowman. It was very disappointing.
Limits, do you have a question either about Andrew's trip to Seattle or Alaska?
Yeah, I'm very curious just about Alaska in general, because I hear that it's just so picturesque and such a beautiful place to visit. And I feel like there are some hidden gems in Alaska, and I'm just curious about the state in general and why I should visit.
Yeah, gorgeous place, man. Can't recommend it enough. Well, it's funny, though, because looking back on it, part of why that trip is so memorable for our family is we were considering doing, like, a whole family of 5 trip out to Europe. Like, we had it all slated to go. That was going to be the big powwow, like, knock it all down family vacation. And me and my older brother, at that time, I would like to think, relatively uncultured. All we cared about really was sports and the United States. So we kind of poo-pooed those plans. And my older sister, who was in college, well-versed, very intelligent woman who works in creative writing now at Florida State, was devastated. And instead, we drove up to Seattle and caught a Mariners game and went to Alaska. So, like, don't get me wrong, it was a great vacation. It's just funny thinking back on it, because it's like, oh, we could have gone to Europe and hit all these different spots. And me and my brother were like, no, let's go catch Mariners Red Sox. That sounds way cooler.
Bob, do you have any lingering questions about Andrew's trip to Alaska?
No, other than that's one of those places that I think is on my bucket list too. So if it ever comes to be, I will call you and ask for some advice, Andrew.
Should Anchorage have sports teams, Bob? Like in the NFL, maybe an MLB, something like that? No?
I think it's too far away, and I don't know if there's enough there to support it. Am I wrong? I don't know.
I don't know. Ask the guy who's been to Alaska. Could they support a team out there?
Support a team?
I don't know about that. And I can't speak for Anchorage. I've never been there. But, I mean, God, yeah, that's way too remote. I mean, I think the flight from Seattle to Anchorage is like 3 hours or 3.5 hours.
Wow.
And Seattle is as remote as it gets for any North American major pro sports city. So
All right,
Yeah, probably
Andrew.
shooting that one down.
Yeah. Well, we'll say our goodbyes in a moment, but in the meantime, we have a season opener with the Pirates and a lot of unanswered questions. The first of which is Jared Jones. And I should start you out by saying, when's he going to come back? And that way we can get Shelty's attention immediately. I guess this was a pretty good break for them, all things considered, that he doesn't need surgery, right?
Yeah, it sounds like it for right now, and obviously 6 weeks is not preferable, right? Like, you'd obviously like for the guy to be back sooner, but it sounds like they've dodged a bullet for now. We've gone down this road before with various guys, right, where they get out there and you think 6 weeks, the recovery time is going to be okay, and they'll be able to return from it, and it doesn't turn out to be that way, so remains to be seen. I think as of right now, hey, this is as good as you could ask for in terms of a clean bill of health for Jared Jones. It's just troublesome from the stance of, hey, when he comes back, will he be 100%? Will he be able to actually be operating at a full capacity? Will he have any limitations? That remains to be seen. But in terms of what you've got right now, effective March 26th, hey, this is optimistic. This gives you reason to believe he could be back by sometime in mid-May or June or something like that. Because if not, the worst case scenario was if this was Tommy John, I mean, you could have been looking at Jared Jones not coming back until mid to late 2026. Like, the timing of Tommy John surgery, if it is required, really couldn't be much worse. So to avoid that for the time being is a good sign for the Pirates.
I think the key word there is phrase you just says for the time being. I mean, these things can be tricky too. So, 6 weeks of nothing, and then all of a sudden it would take at least 6 more, I think, Andrew, to get back. And then how will they approach him? How will they use him at that point? Because I don't know if you want to rush him back thinking, especially if you feel like you need him, how do you think they'll play him?
Yeah, exactly. I think the way that you'll do it is you kind of take your sweet time. You've got other pitchers, right? Like, by no means are you better off without Jared Jones, but you take your time with this guy. You let him build himself back up. You let him start throwing in a timely manner. Give it the rest that he needs. Because worst case scenario, hey, you've got Carmen Majinski for the time being. Thomas Harrington evidently was very close with how long they kept him around in big league camp. Braxton Ashcraft is in the minors. Bubba Chandler, in theory, shouldn't be too far gone. So, like, you have other guys that can fill in the holes and can plug in the gaps for the time being. It's obviously not perfect. It's obviously not optimal in the sense that, hey, Jared's not healthy, right? Like, he's not ready to go right now, but you've got other options that should be able, in the interim at least, allow the Pirates to proceed with caution rather than rush this guy back sooner than he needs to be.
Andrew Destin of the Post-Gazette. You can read his stuff at postgazette.com. So give me your best, you may already know this, but if not, give me your best guess at the opening day lineup in order and by position.
Ooh, great question. I would say that Tommy Pham batting leadoff in left field. Brian Reynolds in right field batting second. O'Neill Cruz third in center. Andrew McCutchen DHing. Joey Bart behind the dish at catcher in the 5-hole. Let's go. Whoever will be at first base. Which, God,
That's the dilemma right there.
I'll put the word whoever in there, batting sixth, okay?
yeah, I would say I guess that could be Endy, but he also hasn't gotten a whole ton of time there. I mean,
Yeah.
we'll see. And then you just kind of fill out the rest of it with going around the diamond. So you would go Hayes 7, Gonzalez 8, and then kind of fill up a 9. Maybe in that order, or maybe you drop down whoever's the first baseman, you put them at the 8 or the 9 hole, but something along those lines.
Why not Bart at cleanup as opposed to Andrew McCutchen? Just flip-flop there. I think Bart is the bat that you really want to have in that situation based on what I've seen.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's more just out of respect for McCutchen for the opening day purposes. I think that's more where that comes from. I don't know that that's necessarily a given, but he did it last year, a good amount. He batted leadoff last year, a good amount too. I think it's more just, hey, off the top of my head, this makes some deal of sense and pays homage to the guy who's been here for a number of years. But Joey Bart had as good of a spring as anybody, man. He looked pretty darn freaking good there behind the plate, hitting-wise. So he certainly earned the right to be in the cleanup hole if they want to still put him there.
When are we going to see Henry Davis?
Great question. It's tough to say because, right, you've got Spencer Horwitz, who is coming back from the injury theoretically at some point in April. Henry Davis at some point will get up here. If I had to guess, maybe sometime in June. And maybe that's because of an injury to a guy like Endy or Joey Bart. Knock on wood for the Pirates' sake, that doesn't happen, but maybe it's one of those two guys. Maybe it's because you have an opportunity to get reps at DH. Maybe it's because they decide, hey, we really like what we have in Joey Bart and Endy Rodriguez. Maybe this allows the Pirates to move around Henry Davis to another position over the next couple of months. Now, I'm not implying that that's happening. I'm not suggesting that that's anything that's in the works. But this would allow the Pirates to give that a couple of months if they so choose it. I think still personally they view Henry Davis as a catcher first and foremost. But, it would allow them that kind of flexibility to give it a couple of months, let Henry Davis get hot hitting-wise, and let whatever plays out in the catching front play out.
What is your concern with the bullpen, if there is? And is David Bednar, from what you've seen, I know it's not been a good spring, but does he still have the closer label at this point?
I think he still has it as of right now, just in the sense that, let's say the Pirates take the lead tomorrow and it's the ninth inning, somebody has to close. I think David Bednar is still your closer at that point. But by no means does that suggest that David Bednar has this job on locks and nobody else is going to take it from him. I think what you're looking at is he has struggled this spring. He struggled last year. There's other guys in the bullpen who have warranted the opportunities to be 8th inning, 9th inning guys. So sure, David Bednar might get those chances from the outset, might get those chances from the get-go, but I think there's going to be other guys who are going to get save opportunities, and my concern with the bullpen is relatively high. For myriad reasons, whether that's, hey, you fired the bullpen coach in Justin Message and brought in a new guy in Miguel Perez. That was a sign that there was discontent with the bullpen and its performance. Bednar obviously hasn't been great. Guys like Kyle Nicholas are going to start the year in the minor leagues. There are some relatively unknown commodities who I think are going to be on the opening day roster, like a Justin Lawrence, or, that's one name that certainly comes to mind. Some lefties like Ryan Barucki coming off the injury-plagued 2024 season. There's so many question marks that I think some of these guys are going to hit, but others much less so, and that leads me to believe that this roster, this bullpen, it's got a good potential to be shaky, and I think that could really be an Achilles heel for this team.
Bob, may I engage Andrew in a game of free association?
Absolutely. This is his last free association.
Andrew, we hardly knew ye, which is why we're going to get to know you better in this version of my free association. Are you ready?